Well, it seems hardly possible, does it? Here we all are at the Royal Albert Hall yet again for yet another last night of the BBC Proms, the grand finale of the 98th season. The place is absolutely packed, I don't have to tell you, and down in the prom there's the usual sense of fairly suppressed excitement as they wait for the hijinks of part 2 when they can really get into their stride. But what a lot there is to look forward to in the meanwhile in part 1. Dame Kiri Kanawa, our Britannia yet to be, will sing arias by Massenet. The Russian pianist Tatyana Nikolaeva will play the second piano concerto by Shostakovitch, and by the way, she's in her 60s, not her 80s, as some of the papers say. And Andrew Davis will conduct the BBC Symphony Orchestra in music by Rossini and Rossini/Britten. Now, I talked just now about the promenaders down there. Tonight, for a change, I'm right up in the gallery, and there are promenaders up here too, very much so. They don't like to be forgotten either. Well, from up here, they and I have an absolutely fantastic view of this extraordinary great covered arena where the Proms have had their home for 50 years, since the middle of World War II. The old place, so aptly nicknamed the Village Hall of the Commonwealth, has been going through quite a facelift lately, and there are even more ambitious plans ahead. It's even rumoured that the acoustic sources placed here in 1968 to scotch that notorious echo may be replaced, if funds allow, by a new acoustic ceiling. Already the gallery where we are has been restored to its former glory, and very nice it looks. It's now much as it was when the hall was first opened. And backstage, I may say, quite a lot's been going on too, to bring the Albert Hall up to the standard of competing modern concert halls. There, at this very moment, no doubt, the leader of the orchestra, Michael Davis, and Andrew Davis, principal conductor, are poised to face the uproar which will greet their appearance on the platform. The BBC Symphony Orchestra, with 15 Proms to their credit this season, are already there, and we shall hear them first in the Overture to the Barber of Seville by Rossini. The orchestra, all in white dinner jackets, looking extremely handsome. There's the A, ruined by a chorus from the promenaders, as usual. Plenty of Union Jacks in evidence, and the front row of the prom, I must say, are extremely well dressed tonight, rather better than the rest of us, I think. Most of them in dinner jackets and looking very smart. The usual array of mascots. A great mixture of clothes, really, from the extremely formal to the very relaxed. This has been a very happy and successful season. Over £2 million taken at the box office, which pleases the organisers very much. Here's the leader of the BBC Symphony Orchestra, Michael Davis. Gets a big cheer. Now, as is well known, the first night of the Barber in Rome was fraught with appalling problems, and the piece was almost booed off the stage by supporters of Paisiello, composer of a rival Barber. One little difficulty was that Rossini had lost the overture and decided to use one that had already done service in 2 previous operas. Well, we all know how extremely popular it has turned out to be, and here to conduct it is Andrew Davis, principal conductor, and a very, very popular figure here at the Proms. The Overture to the Barber of Seville. off to a fine start with the overture to the Barber of Seville by Rossini. Also did service for an opera called Elizabeth, Queen of England, which might make it almost more suitable for the last night of the Proms. Now, the engagement of Dame Kiri to Kanawa to appear at the last night this year is undoubtedly an eagerly awaited highlight of this 98th season of Proms. In the first half, she's going to sing arias by Jules Massenet, the gavotte from his masterpiece Manon, and first an aria from Le Cid, first produced in Paris in 1885, less than 2 years after the tremendous triumph of Manon. The Cid is based on Corneille's drama about the legendary Spanish hero, known in Spain, of course, as El Cid. Chimène is distraught because her father has been killed by her lover, and she expresses her conflicting emotions, grief and desire for revenge. Dame Kiri to Kanawa is unfortunately seen in this country less frequently these days than many of us would like. She's so much engaged elsewhere in the world. But this autumn, London will see her at Covent Garden in Othello with Placido Domingo in honour of Sir George Schultz's 8th birthday. And here she comes. The aria Pleurez, mes yeux from Massenet's Le Cid. to Manon, which is a story of tragic frailty in a woman. Although faithfully loved by Descrieux, she can't resist the attractions of luxury. She sings the famous gavotte with impertinence and gaiety, according to the composer's instructions, on the arm of her new wealthy lover, de Bretigny. tumultuous ovation, as one would expect, for Dame Kiri Kanawa on her first appearance this evening. We shall hear her in 3 arias in the second half of the concert before we ever get to Rule Britannia. I'm quite sure she'll reappear on the platform in a moment, but let me just mention our next item. Despite the initial failure of the Barber of Seville, Rossini was by far the most successful operatic composer of his time. And when he decided to retire after William Tell in 1829, he spent the next 40 years in affluent idleness. But here's Dame Kiri again, by no means retired, at the very peak of her career. To go back to Rossini, in 1835, some arias and duets were published under the title Soirées musicales, and 101 years later, the young Benjamin Britten decided to arrange 3 of these pieces for orchestra, prefacing them with a soldier's march from William Tell, and adding at the end a tartella based, perhaps rather oddly, on a religious chorus of Rossini. I think we heard the promenaders when Dame Kiri came on in a kind of Maori greeting. At least that's how I interpreted it. I don't know whether I'm correct. She seemed quite pleased anyway. She said she was looking forward very much to this experience. She'd watched it very often on television, but never, even in her young days in London as a student at the Opera Centre, was she actually in the prom herself. She dislikes crowds. You can see quite a marvellous array of little mascots and puppets and dolls in the front row. They seem to be enjoying the music. Here we go with Soirées musicales, 5 movements. Well, that seemed to go down very well. Britten's suite of 5 pieces by Rossini, Soirées musicale. It had the promenaders bobbing up and down in rhythm. Music was, of course, later used for a ballet. One more call for the orchestra, and Andrew Davis shakes hands with the leader, Michael Davis. Now, we're going to end the first part of this concert with music by Dmitri Shostakovich, Britain's slightly older contemporary. There's no doubt that Shostakovich had to endure a good deal during the Stalinist regime, and in the mid-50s he suffered 2 personal blows with the deaths of his wife and his mother in the space of a few months. Then followed a happier interlude under the influence of a new marriage, and it was during this time that he wrote his relatively carefree second piano concerto for his son Maxim to play, more or less as an audition piece to enter a prestigious piano class at the Moscow Conservatoire. Maxim gave the first performance at the Conservatoire in 1957 on his 19th birthday. Tonight's soloist is an eminent professor at the same Conservatoire, Tatyana Nikolaeva. By the way, in case you've read reports that speak of Nikolaeva as an octogenarian, that is quite wrong. They stem from an error which was when she was described in print as 86 instead of 68. So there you have it. Many more years of her wonderful playing to look forward to. Little platform reorganization going on here while the piano is moved into place. If you were listening to Radio 3 last night, you'll be aware that this evening Nikolaeva is making her second appearance at the Proms. Last night she played Bach's D minor concerto. A reminder that in 1950 she won the Bach competition in Leipzig. Now this was a very significant moment in her life because Shostakovich was a member of the jury and was deeply impressed by her playing. And when they met again in Moscow, soon afterwards at his flat, the composer played over the first 2 of his preludes and fugues. He asked Nikolaeva to call again next day, and there was another prelude and fugue, and so on, until the whole set of 24 had been written. Shostakovich presented Nikolaeva with the set in manuscript. They were dedicated to her, and she gave the first public performance in Leningrad, as it then was, in 1952. Well, we had to have that, didn't we, as the piano lid goes up. So that was really how the friendship started between Nikolaeva and Shostakovich. And as for the concerto we're going to hear tonight, written for the composer's son, as we said, but Nikolaeva has a very special copy of the score inscribed for her by the composer in 1954. Tatyana Nikolaeva greatly enjoyed her appearance here last night. She said she loved the atmosphere of the Proms and she'd like being back in London again. She still teaches in Moscow, She has a star pupil, a brilliant 20-year-old, Nikolai Luyansky. We'll be hearing of him, I expect. But she's in ever-increasing demand as a performer. Made her debut at the Wigmore Hall 3 years ago when she played the Shostakovitch Preludes and Fugues. And she'll return there next January to give the complete cycle of Bach's 48 over a series of 4 concerts. Before that, in October this year, she has a series of concerts with the Halle Orchestra that will take her to Manchester, Sheffield and Huddersfield. There are more recital plans for Nikolaeva to return to this country in 1993. She's obviously enjoying this phase in her career. It was really remarkable that it took so long for her to become well known to audiences in the West. That's apart from her recordings, of course, which had already won her a tremendous reputation. I mentioned earlier on that the Proms season really has been remarkably successful. Rather good takings at the box office, some £2 million, which is a bit of a breakthrough. 81% of ticket sales, which is really thought to be extremely good, and as good as last year, which in the present context of the recession is quite remarkable. And all the more so perhaps because of the number of new and in some cases quite challenging works which have been performed, often to packed audiences. And another source of pleasure has been the very large attendances at early music concerts. This takes a bow, having given a piano A to the orchestra, and then modestly says, "Oh, no, really, don't deserve that." The men in white jackets, as I said, the women in very colourful floral dresses, and that applies to the chorus as well tonight. No longer the long black that ladies were invariably required to wear on formal occasions for concerts. Chorus feel they have a reason to celebrate tonight because their chorus master has just become engaged, Stephen Jackson. So perhaps they'll be singing with great gusto just for him a little bit later on. And here comes Tatyana Nikolaeva. With a silvery purple gown, I would describe it as. Her hair fastened neatly in a bun. Already a great favourite with the promenaders. And Andrew Davis on the Piano Concerto No. 2 by Shostakovich. hug for Andrew Davis from Tatyana Nikolaeva after that performance of the Piano Concerto No. 2 by Shostakovich. And it's quite obvious from the reception that the promenaders have very much taken her to their hearts. Here she comes again, an ample figure, looking, I must say, like my idea of Mother Russia, full of beaming smiles for everybody. And there's a bouquet for her from the BBC, I would think, in that particular case, and another one from Pamela Blackman, promenader, a former member of staff of British Telecom, where she's quite loaded with flowers. I dare say the applause will go on time. The orchestra joining them now in a bow. I hope you'll join us for part 2 of the concert tonight with all its fun and games, but a lot else besides, of course, on BBC One and Radio 3 at 9 o'clock.